On their 18th birthday, thousands of young adults are evicted from their homes with only their luggage and no one left to turn to. As students, most of us rely on our parents or family in general, yet our peers in foster care have no one left to help them navigate and survive early adulthood alone. In my psychology and sociology class, I did my own research on the foster care system, so I used peer-reviewed journals and academic sources to make sure I get and the most reliable information. The significant problem of homelessness among young foster care caused by almost no support after leaving foster care may be solved by passing a federal law that extends housing and education support until they are the age of 23. To truly understand why we need this law, we need to see what the foster care youth face after they age out. Every year, thousands of young adults are thrown into instability and homelessness. According to the national study by the Chaplain Hall Center for Children at the University of Chicago, more than 31% of youth aging out of foster care experience homelessness. Reports by the National Sexual Assault Violence Resource Center indicate that there is nearly 1 in 5 foster care youth experience homelessness within 24 hours of exiting care leaving them vulnerable to physical harm and human trafficking. There was a research published by the U.S. Department of Housing and Urban Development explained that young adults with a history of foster care are up to 50% of the overall unaccompanied urban homeless population. Now that we have talked about post-foster homelessness, we must talk about the cause for all of this. The main reason for post-foster homelessness is the abrupt cutoff of housing and social support services once they reach adulthood at the age of 18. Analysis in the Journal of Adolescent Health by Dr. Mark Corney reveals that youth exiting care at the age of 18 face something called aging off cliff, where Medicaid, housing vouchers, and caseworker support stop simultaneously with no transition period to let them adjust to living alone. According to the Casey Family Program National Base study, less than 3% of former foster care youth receive a college diploma by the age of 26. Most this is the main reason for this is because of the financial burden of having to find housing as soon as they turn 18, since they are evicted from their house. In a report by the Annie E. Casey Foundation researchers said that unlike the general population, where 70% of 18 to 22-year-olds receive full or financial backing by their parents or family members, foster youth are expected to do this all alone with no one to help them. Now that we have talked about how termination of help causes this, let's talk about how a public policy that addresses the problem. The United States Congress must pass federal legislation requiring states to extend housing and education help until they reach the age of 23. In the journal Children of Youth Services Review by Dr. Amy confirms that extending state care and providing housing through the age of 23 increases financial stability and reduces homelessness of foster youth by up to 50%. When California enacted Assembly Bill 12, extending foster assistance and housing until 21, UC Berkeley reported a 40% drop in foster youth homelessness and a 30% increase in college enrollment for foster youth. Critics say that this would be a burden to taxpayers since they would be the ones having to pay for this extended period to allow the youth to stay in care. Although research says that for every dollar you put into extending it, you save $4.10 in emergency housing, law enforcement, and public assistance expenditures. Today, we have talked about the big problems of homelessness in foster youth. Talked about how the case, about how the care is in the abrupt termination of support and public policy solutions and extending housing and education to the age of 23. Contact your local U.S. House representative and demand them to vote for expanding the Fostering Connection Act to extend housing and education for all foster until the age of 23. By extending our support, we, instead of cutting it off, we can turn aging out into an opportunity.